What's up, party people? It's Chris from Profoto, and this is Geared Up. It's our weekly live broadcast where we talk about gear, we talk about lighting techniques, we do breakdowns, we figure out how to light certain things. Overall, we just hang out, we have fun, we take your questions, and talk about lighting. Today, we're doing this again. This is actually round two. We had a little bit of an audio snafu that we couldn't trace down on the first live, so we got rid of that bad boy. We're back here. I have your questions from earlier, and we're just going to talk about it again and go through it. So today, we're talking about the new reflectors, our new reflectors with a white finish. So traditionally, people are used to seeing our original reflectors with a silver finish. This is what we've had forever. They were designed to gather light from a protruded head, flash head like a pro head or an acute head or a D4 head. Gather the light in certain ways, allow you to kind of zoom the light in and out and be ultra efficient. So this Magnum, for example, would give you up to 2 stops more light output than what you started with. So for reference, if you had a 500 watt second light head, you could put this on there, and in a certain position, this would give you almost 2,000 watt seconds worth of light out, which was incredible for a reflector. It's one of the things that's made the Magnum so popular. It's really, really great at emulating sunlight. But silver reflectors can be a little bit intimidating, especially for someone who's just kind of getting into it. They are, I don't want to say harsh because I don't think the word is harsh, but they can be a little unforgiving. If you don't nail the point, the focus point perfectly on the light, or maybe your subject has maybe an oilier complexion or something like that, the silver can kind of exacerbate some of those things. And a lot of times people find themselves afraid of using something like a hard reflector or using hard light in general, just because there's certain things that they're not really sure how to control. A hard light can give you, more shadow definition and that kind of stuff. And so people generally don't like that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about a few of those things today, but something that we have just released will help out a whole bunch with that. So my Magnum still got a grid on it, so I'm not going to snap it off right now. But what we're talking about now is these reflectors with a white finish on the inside. So what does the white finish do? First and foremost, it doesn't make the light softer. So let's get that out of the way first, just so I can show you. So the softness of your light is dictated by how large or small your source is in relationship to the subject. And so this is a silver zoom reflector and a white zoom reflector. They're the exact same size. They're the exact same reflector, just one has a different finish on the inside. So this does not change the quality of the light. Same quality as this. What the white reflector does is it's going to give you a smoother fall off, a more subtle edge that you wouldn't get from the silver. Again, the silver has a tendency to really point that light forward. It's really specular. It's really, I say that it gives the subject that it's hitting a sparkle, especially if it's a person. There's a sparkle on the subject that white finish doesn't necessarily give you, but it's one of those things that a white finish, knowing that a white finish doesn't give you that, you can use that as a tool for certain situations. And again, we'll talk about that as we start to photograph in a little bit. But again, now because the white there's a lot of extra reflections, the white's reflecting more around inside the reflector as opposed to hitting all these facets and just shooting straight out. Again, you have these micro reflections on the inside that are feathering out the light a little bit more. Again, a really, really beautiful, much smoother light. The white interior also gives you the ability to kind of feather off the edge a little bit. So you don't have to necessarily point the light directly at the subject. You can kind of feather it off and use the edge a little bit more, which is nice. The silver reflector, you don't have as much ability with that. The cutoff point is pretty sharp. What you're also going to find too with the white reflectors is the contrast overall is going to drop. You're going to find a little bit more coverage, and especially things around the edges of kind of like where the light beam meets like your background or something like that. It's going to taper off. It's going to feather a little more naturally. So it's a really, really beautiful modifier. So all the hard reflectors didn't get the white finish. So we have a grid on the front of this one with the white grid, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But this is the Magnum. The Tele Zoom got a white finish, beautiful reflector. We're going to photograph with all these so you can see them. And then the zoom reflector. One of the other things that makes the white reflector really awesome is, like I was saying earlier with the silver reflector, they were originally made for the protruded head flash tubes, right? So your pro heads, your acute heads, your D4 heads. It was made for the light tube to be positioned in a certain way inside the reflector to be maximally effective. When you take a flat front light and you put it on the front of that, the light's not gathered the same way. So the zoom scale is not quite the same. It doesn't mean that the reflector doesn't work and that you're not getting good stuff out of the reflector. But what it means is it's not gathering light the same way. It's the reason that for our flat front stuff, we came out with the OCF Zoom and the OCF Magnum. And those are designed to, again, gather light the way that the flat front works. So that's why we talk about that. But the white finish reflectors don't have that problem because, again, there's a lot of micro reflections inside of the reflector kind of bouncing all over the place. It doesn't need to have a protruded head to give you the best light output. The flat fronts actually look quite beautiful. And so with that being said, on today, we're going to be using a flat front light for all these images. We'll do some more stuff at a later date where we talk about, you throwing the pro head on there and kind of diving into the differences between those two. But really today I want to talk about it with a flat front light. A lot more people have flat front lights than they have pro heads. Things like your B10X, your D3s, your D2s, your D1s, B1s, and stuff like that. And showing you how these things can really, really change stuff up. So we talked about the reflectors. Let's really quick jump into the grids and talk about the white grids that we also introduced with the new reflectors. So with your traditional grid, it looks like this. You're used to seeing a black grid. Black absorbs, white reflects, right? So with a black grid, you're getting your light really focused in the beam angle that you want, and you're not getting any extra stray light bouncing off the edges. What that can do is really focus the light on your subject, but it can increase the contrast of your image. This is something that people perceive as a hardness increase. It does not change the hardness. Again, remember the hardness of your light is dictated by the size of the modifier changing, either bigger for a softer light or smaller for a harder light. So if I have a reflector this size and I put a grid on it the exact same size, the hardness of the light has not changed. What people are perceiving as a hardness change is a contrast increase. And again, that's because the black absorbs the light. There's no micro reflections, and it's really pointing the light straight forward. A white grid, on the other hand, allows for those micro reflections. So now when the light goes through the grid, it's still pointing the light in the exact same direction that the black grid is pointing at. You're getting the exact same beam throw. What's happening now, though, is the edges of that light are feathering because there's light bouncing around inside the grid, and it's feathering off towards the edges. Really, really cool stuff. What this is going to allow to do is actually going to do the opposite. It's going to be a contrast decrease. It's going to, again, people perceive that contrast increase as a hardness increase. It is not, but people may perceive it as a softening of the light. Again, it's not a softening of the light. It's just a contrast decrease. Now, something to talk about too, because you're thinking about, this contrast decrease, does it change the actual spread of the grid? The answer is no. If you were to take a person and put them in the middle of a large field, and you were to photograph them with this and with this, with nothing, with no ability for the light to bounce around the room, you're going to get the exact same light thrown at the subject. So all the little extra reflections and stuff like that that you're going to receive from the white grid are really only from being in a space in which the light has the ability to bounce off of ceilings and walls and floors and stuff like that. So really cool stuff. Something else that someone asked earlier in the live that we had to scrap and we're doing this over again so we have some clean audio, is they're asking color temperature effects. So when we design these things, we do everything that we can to make sure that the light being shot through them and the light being reflected out of them is clean and consistent. That's one of the things that makes Profoto special. So you can expect accurate color temperature going through these reflectors. The coating that we used on the inside of it was made for that. So cool?
Yeah, we're doing it.
Awesome. So let's start taking some photographs. We're going to do a comparison. We're gonna shoot with the silver reflector, and then we're gonna shoot with the white version of it on each one of them, and then we're gonna do with the grids with the silver Magnum and the white Magnum with the grids, and show you the differences there. And we're all gonna do it with the D3, and then we'll pull up the computer screen and we'll talk about it. So cool. Let's throw on the silver zoom. So settings wise on my camera, I'm at 125th of a second. I'm at, actually, let me get this thing down. Safari quit unexpectedly. Okay. I'm I'm at 125th of a second on my shutter speed. That's the fastest I can go on my GFX. I have f8 and ISO 100, just to try to keep the video lights down. And on this, zoom position wise on the Pro D3, we're gonna be right in front of the 6. That gets the bell of the light right in line with the front of the flash tube. So it's nice and smooth there, and we're being maximally efficient. Let's turn on this modeling light. Other thing I like about this D3 is how powerful this daylight modeling light is. It's really nice. We're gonna have this thing set up in a way to where we're angled off the side. We're gonna be able to see kind of this cutoff line that you're seeing right here on the background. And we're gonna photograph Kate right now and go through all these and see how we feel about it. So let's do that. So Upsy Daisy here. Ready to rock, Kate?
Yeah, ready.
Let's do it. So everything that we're gonna shoot, we're gonna try to keep it in order. We're gonna go silver, white, silver, white, silver, white. Same thing once we throw the grid on there. It's gonna be silver with the grids, white with the grids. So try to keep everything consistent. I'm gonna kind of rake the light off to the side again so we can get a little more detail in the edge of the light. So we have all of that lovely goodness. And then there's also gonna be some things that you're gonna find in the details of the image. And we're gonna talk about all of those things. It's something specific to shooting with a flat front light. And that's another reason that we're shooting with a flat front light today. So here we go. Let's make sure the trigger's on. I think that's what happened. Let's go modeling light on, thank you. Make sure we're flat on that. All right, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. So that's the zoom with silver. It's nice, it's punchy, it's got a crispness to it that's very lovely. Now let's, without moving the light. Without moving the Kate, let's go to the silver. We're gonna position it in the same place. There we go. Let's talk about the power level. So the last shot that we took with the D3, and because we're going to talk about some efficiency things too with the reflector, was a power level of 4.5. Let's see how much light loss there is going to a white reflector as opposed to going to the silver that's, you know, technically more efficient. So here we go. Chin up just a hair. There we go. 3, 2, 1. Just make sure we're not overexposed on that a little bit. Because we're moving through modifiers so fast, we're going to be shooting all this stuff on TTL mode today. So I'm actually going to pull that back just a hair because it's a little hot. Here we go. Come back here. There we go. 3, 2, 1. That's better. Cool. Power level wise, to get that exposure, let's kind of make sure we're going to get rid of this one just so we don't mess anything up. Cool. So power level wise, let's take it again. On that second shot, you kind of curled your shoulder forward. Let's try to keep it a little more consistent.
So open shoulder, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Or I can go back to this one.
Yeah, I think you should go body towards the light, and we'll reshoot the silver one. Let's just reshoot it. Cool. We'll just delete all those.
No biggie.
No big deal. Just delete them.
Just working.
Cool.
Studio here.
Cool. Yeah, don't look into the light.
Don't look into the light.
Okay.
Right.
Here we go. Cool, cool, cool. All right. We got Kate all set up, ready to rock and roll. Get my focus point where I need it. There we go. 3, 2, 1. Lovely. That's with the silver. Let's go back to the white.
Did it fire?
It did.
We see it on the computer. We don't see it up there.
Oh, maybe did I hit my cable? I might have hit my cable.
If you have any questions, please pop them in here. We will definitely.
There we go.
Yes.
Yeah, I think my.
There we are.
I think my HDMI cable is a little mad. Let's see. Just gonna clean this up real fast, party peeps. I traveled with it when I went to Sweden and we did the live on the Fresnel small. I traveled with the cable. I might have messed it up a little bit on the
Some
the
viewers
road.
are asking, does this come with a case?
Does it come with a case? It does not come with a case. There are some companies out there that make here. I've got my SKB one right here, for example. Let's see. There's some companies out there that make drum cases. I have an SKB one I like a lot. As you can see, that I use it. It currently has a FedEx label on it, so you can see that I absolutely ship it around places. But this is my SKB case. This holds 3 magnums, I think. What I have in it right now. It's definitely heavy. I've got a magnum in it, so. Yeah, so there's one of my magnums. I think this one will hold 3 magnums. I haven't tried to put I don't think it'll hold a telezoom, honestly. You might have to get a taller, you have to get a taller, like a Tom case or something like that. But it's really, really good for shipping magnums around or traveling with them. I have one also for my beauty dish. I like a lot, but SKB, they're really, really good stuff. Cool. So, yep, computer's back up. Let's do this. Let's get the white reflector on there. White reflector matches my Crocs.
Hey Josh, yes, we are doing a redo. That audio
Was garbage.
Oh.
It took us a minute to figure out what it was, and we sorted it out. It was some weird thing in the line. So we're back. Hey Josh, how's it going? Appreciate
Thanks
you.
for coming back with us. If you have any questions, pop them in.
Yep. And we're rock and rolling. So a tiny little... There we go. And so this is the white reflector zoom. There we go. There we go. You chin up just a hair. 3, 2. Lovely. Fantastic. The one thing here, I might move the light positioning a little bit because I want you guys to be able to see that. It's not you. I want them to be able to see the edge of that light a little bit more. You know what? I think the vignette's popping in fine enough that it's okay. We'll roll with it. So cool. So now let's shift to, power level wise. So the first time that we took that shot was at a power level of 4.5 with the silver zoom reflector. This is a 4.8. So we only lost 0.3 stops of light between the silver and the white reflector. So efficiency wise, they're pretty dang close. So let's go Magnum. The Magnum has a much more pointed light source. You're going to see that here. And then you're really going to see it once we get into the... I could see it. Yeah, it's smoking it. And this is something that we noticed earlier. One of the things that you have to be a little more cognizant of with a hard reflector. So I'm going to lift the hot spot up a little bit more to point right at her face. I know she really loves that. Mm-hmm. So one of the things you have to pay attention to with a silver reflector is where that light is hitting. And that's one of the things I think that deter people from it a little bit more. But here we go. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay because we were a little overexposed there anyway. So chin up a hair. There we go. 3, 2. Oh, make sure we're focused up. Come on, baby. There we go. 3, 2, 1. Lovely. Cool. Let's get rid of that first one so we don't lose what we're doing. There we go. And now let's flip over to the white Magnum. This is gonna be, so between the silver and the white zoom, there is some difference there, and we're going to show it, but this is where you're going to start seeing some of the bigger differences between the white reflectors. And then when we shift over to the telezoom, is going to be a big jump. So let's get this in here. Perfect. Again, I'm ensuring that all the lights are in the same position. This should be a little bit more forgiving. The hot spot has now gone down heavily. So let's clean this bad boy up. Here we go. 3. Come on, back to the face, chin up just a hair. There we go. 3, 2, 1. Beautiful, beautiful light. What I didn't do is I didn't check the power difference there, but I can tell you from the last live that we did, there's about a stop to a stop and a half power difference between the silver and the white on the Magnum reflector. And a lot of that's going to come from the fact that the silver Magnum reflector really does have a pretty prominent hot spot right at the middle. And that is going to really increase the light output that you're going to get there. Whereas the white, again, smooths all that stuff out. Not softer, smoother. Remember that. Cool. And now the telezoom. This is where you're going to really start seeing some dramatic light changes. So let's get here. Just feeling about where the light is. There we go. Roughly setting of 6. And then we have to readjust a little bit to make sure that hot spot is obliterating Caitlin's eyeballs. Look, don't look, but kind of just chin up a hair. There we go. This should be good, I think. Perfect. Here we go. 3. Come on. Grab the focus. There we go. 3, 2, 1. Lovely. And so now let's grab the white telezoom. Okay. Perfect. Three, 2, 1. Some big differences there. Again, we're gonna get back into the camera screen here in just a second, and we're going to kind of look at all this stuff and see what things are looking like. I'm just seeing everything is happy-pappy. Cool, cool. Now, yep, we're doing grids now. So again, with the grids, we're gonna do the Magnum reflector because I don't have the small grids for the zoom. So we're gonna do the Magnum reflector. We're gonna start with the silver reflector, and we're gonna start there first with the black grid, and then we're gonna jump over to the white reflector with the we're gonna do both black then white grid on each one, and then we'll jump to the white one, and then again. So back here, Kate. Cool there. And make sure this grid's pointed where I want it. So the next thing that we were talking about with the grids earlier is you want to make sure that you're pointing it right at your subject. It's more important now than it was without the grids because this thing really focuses that light forward. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. That might have been a little more over than I wanted. I think let's go. Let's take one more. Take a tiny step backwards, I think. No, I mean like actual backwards. Yeah. There we go. There we go. Now my camera's 3, 2. Way better. And now let's go to the white grid. Now with the silver reflector, you're not going to see quite as big of a change in the grid effects. And that's, again, because the silver reflector is so much more pointed. There is going to be a difference. It'll be subtle. And that's kind of really the moral of the story with these white reflectors and white grids is the subtleness, whether it be the subtleness in the effect or the subtleness of the actual overall light. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Lovely. So now let's go with the white reflector and the black grid. Perfect.
Awesome sauce.
I tried to put this on earlier up in the air. Not as elegant. I would definitely take it to the ground. Oh, cool. Make sure we're focused. Cool. White reflector, black grid. 3, 2, 1. Lovely. And so now let's throw that white grid on. And this is where things are going to really start to kind of open up. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Ugh. Perfect. Last shot, and then we're going to review these bad boys. Ooh. First I'm going to throw it. Lovely. Three, two, one. Beautiful. Cool. So now let's pull this forward and look at some images. My camera over a little bit. Getting about 50 million email notifications, I think. And that's okay. Am I in my spot? I am. Perfect. So let's scroll up. First shot is the zoom reflector, or the zoom 2 reflector. The first things that we're going to see right off the jump is, lost my train of thought for a second. The first thing that I want to talk about out of the jump is the actual edge of the light. So without moving the light at all, you can see how much more the edge starts to become prominent over here, whereas that gradient is way more subtle. If we zoom in on the face, right here, the first thing that you're going to be able to see is some more of that that sparkle that I was talking about earlier. The silver generally has the ability to increase the I don't know, maybe the shine is the word that I'm looking for on a subject, but again, it has this crispness that whenever it hits the subject's skin, it kind of allows the light to kind of bounce all over the place, and it really kind of, again, adds this sparkle to it, whereas the white reflector is a little more subtle with it. So this is going to be really, really good if you're outdoors on location, and maybe your subject is starting to sweat a little bit. I know here in the Southeast, it gets pretty hot. Some people, on the West Coast, especially like Arizona, it gets really hot. The white reflector is going to be nice because you have the ability to have a reflector that's going to kind of cut back on some of that shine, whereas the silver generally tends to exacerbate that kind of stuff. So that's another really great place where the white reflector is going to outperform something like a traditional silver reflector. And that same thing's going to happen too if you're using an umbrella. So if you're using a silver umbrella versus a white umbrella, that silver, just that material and the way the light is gathered in the material and then broadcast onto your subject, is going to reflect back a little bit more. Whereas that diffused light of the white, same thing with the reflector, is going to give you a little bit more subtle fill. It's not going to be quite so specular, I guess is the word that people like to use a lot. So overall, one of the things that you're going to find that the white reflectors have over the silver reflectors is decrease in double shadow. So with the flat front lights, what can happen with these silver reflectors is you can get this secondary shadow right here. So you see this main light here, and then this kind of like little fall off right there. That is kind of the line of demarcation where the shadow starts to feather out. But what you're going to find is right here, there's actually a second shadow. And that's just the way the flat front light gathers inside the silver reflectors. It can happen. On the actual person itself here, let's go look at the shadow underneath the jawline. So the shadow underneath the jawline is not that big of a deal. You don't have to worry about that as much, but shadows on the background and stuff like that, you can start to get that double shadow. If that's something that bothers you, the white reflector fixes that. Just the way that it gathers light, you still have this line of demarcation and it kind of feathers out, but you don't have that secondary shadow kind of going around everywhere. With the zoom reflector, coverage is relatively similar. I can see that I have more light down here towards the bottom, where it definitely starts to fall off here a little bit more so, but coverage-wise, they're pretty similar. Again, you're just getting a little bit more vignetting here around the edges where the light's falling off faster. Goodness gracious, Chris. I'm just hitting all kinds of menu stuff, but where the light's kind of falling off faster over here. So, and that's just something to expect with the silver because generally it's more pointed. Let's go to the Magnum because this is where we're going to start seeing some big changes. So the Magnum reflector, again, is a much more pointed light source. Like I was telling you, just in that position with the D3, it already has a very prominent hotspot. Kate can tell you too whenever she opened her eyes. If we zoom in here on the face, you can see kind of that sparkle again on the skin that the silver leaves, whereas with the white reflector, it feels a little bit more matte. So this is kind of, again, that heavy hotspot that we got from the silver, whereas we're way more smoothed out here on the white finish with the flat front with the white finish. The other big place that you're going to see is just on the background and the coverage of Kate. So like right here, you're going to see we've vignetted out quite a bit and the contrast drops really fast. Same double shadow that we had earlier with some extra little light anomalies inside there. And that's just from a lot of the light bouncing off of the hammered facets inside of the Magnum reflector and kind of catching some more of those rays back through there. So it kind of, you still have that double shadow, but then you kind of still have these light anomalies, whereas with the white reflector, it's way smoother, way smoother, way more pronounced on what the shadow actually is. The light top to bottom is a lot more even, which is something that a white's going to do over silver generally. Again, both beautiful light sources. It's just now you have an idea and you have the option to pick and choose whether or not you have like that smoother light from a reflector or the punchier light from the silver. And so I know that some people asked too on something else earlier, if you could just put like a piece of diffusion, like a filter over the front of a silver reflector and get the same look. The answer is no. So once you take that filter and put it over the front of your reflector, what's happening is that filter's now become the light source. Whereas with these images, the actual reflector is the light source. It's the same thing with a softbox. The inside of a softbox isn't the light source. It's that front, it's the last diffusion panel you have. So if you have one diffusion panel inside of it, the front diffusion panel is the light source. If you have two diffusion panels in it, the front diffusion panel is still the light source. If you take off the front diffusion panel and leave the middle diffusion panel in, now that middle diffusion panel is the light source. It's the last thing the light hits before it goes to your subject. That is the source. So, but again, the white finish is going to give us more coverage, even though it is starting to fall off a lot more than, here, let's do this, get rid of this one. It's starting to fall off a lot more than the actual zoom did. So really beautiful stuff. The Magnum, both in the silver and in the white finish, beautiful light sources. Now here with the telezoom, we're going to get even more kind of drama with it. So this is going to spot the light out a whole lot more. Again, we still have that kind of that, come on, little grabber hand. We still have that real specular light. You can see that we have quite a bit of, you have that big main hotspot right here. You have this really kind of beautiful sparkly skin. Whereas over here, everything's a lot more even top to bottom. There are still some highlights on her cheekbones. That's going to happen. But definitely a lot more kind of, again, sparkly specular over here as opposed to this one. Again, the big differences are going to be looking at the background, way more spotting out of the light. So you get some big drama, some big contrast. Whereas again, that white finish is going to cut that down. You can still see here, there is a prominent line showing the edge of the reflector, but look how much more that feathers out here. I mean, look, the same line right here, line right there, but that white allows it to feather out so much more. And then again, you have some of the anomalies from the light bouncing around inside the silver here. It's a little more pronounced with the shadow here without the double shadow. So, and again, if you want to look, there's a bit of a double shadow right there on everything. So now let's go and talk about grids. Cool, let's pull these up. So this is the Magnum Reflector Silver with a black grid and a white grid. So again, the black grid is going to allow the light to be incredibly, I want to pull back the, exposure on that one just a little bit, just because I feel like it got a little, and John, if you're rewatching this, I get it. You wanted me to use the light meter, but I'm trying to do this a little more efficiently. So be gentle.
Is this efficient?
Is this efficient? It's way more efficient than a light meter. I'm already done. So anyway, what we're talking about here. So silver with a black grid, silver with the white grid. Again, because there's no extra reflections happening inside of the black grid, that light is heavily pointed. The contrast goes through the roof. You can see there's almost no light information back here in the background. There's a little bit, but not much. And then the actual light going down on Kate essentially doesn't exist. It's really pointed. It's really dramatic. It's quite beautiful. Now, same size modifier, same size grid, only now we've changed the finish and we have a lot more micro reflections bouncing around. You can already tell, we can start to see the hands are coming back, the hips are slightly there. There's more information on the background, so there's maybe a hair more separation than there is here. But yeah, that's just the white grid on the silver. And again, the silver Magnum is a much more pointed light source. So it's going to be heavily focused forward. Now when we go to the white finish, we're going to start seeing even more. So this is the white finish reflector with the black grid. So we're already getting more coverage just right out of the bat compared to the black. And I'll pull up the black and black side by side with the silver and white so we can see that. But you're already getting more coverage here, more on the background, more on the face. The hands are, again, more prominent, even with the black grid. And then we jump over here to the white reflector with the white grid, and we're still getting a nice focus on Kate, a beautiful fall off, but it's way more subtle. It's way more forgiving than, you know, the heavy prominence of the black grid. So let's do this. Let's get rid of this image. Let's just talk about the black grid. So this is the black grid on the silver reflector, black grid on the white reflector. You can tell the differences there really, really big. Again, more light being thrown here, more light being focused there. That comes back again to the silver finish, pointing that light out, whereas that white finish is going to kind of help spread the light a little more. Doesn't make it bigger, doesn't make it softer, it evens it out a little bit more. So just being ultra clear on that whenever I'm saying it. And then here, with the silver reflector with the white grid and the white reflector with the white grid, again, the white grid is allowing more coverage, more information hitting this background, but with the white, the combination of the white reflector and the white grid is giving us more tiny reflections, micro reflections, bouncing around, hitting the background, hitting the subject, giving us more coverage. Again, even more subtle. Beautiful light. Cool, cool, cool. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I missed. I don't believe so. But these are beautiful, beautiful reflectors. They're meant to be another tool in your arsenal of light shaping. Again, the white finish is going to be a lot more subtle than your silver finish is going to be. It's not going to change the softness or the hardness of the actual modifier itself. What it's going to do is change the evenness of the light. It's going to cut down on, you know, heavy hot spots. It's going to give you a little bit more coverage. It's going to bounce around a little bit more, especially if you're in an environment like this where you have some white walls and some white ceilings. I think we're at 10 feet roughly on our ceiling height in here. So we have the ability to bounce off of it. The other cool thing the white's going to allow you to do, the silver doesn't quite so forgivably allow you to do, is feather the light. So what that means is normally you'd have your light pointed right at your subject. You could use the edge of the light to light your subject as opposed to lighting them directly. That also cuts down on hot spots. Silver's tougher with that because, again, the beam is usually so pointed forward that you're still going to kind of be hitting them with the hot spot to even get the light in there. It still works. It's just you're walking the line a little bit more, whereas the white's going to be way more forgiving when it comes to that kind of stuff. Again, beautiful white grids to help feather out some of those edges. Beautiful light source. Anything else that I missed, Caitlin, that we need to think of?
How would it react to gels?
How would it react to gels? So it shouldn't do anything to the gel. So if you gel the actual light itself, I can't imagine. I don't have any big gel. I do, actually. Let's see what we have. Let's see what we have. It's a good question. I don't have a gel and filter holder, so we're going to have to do this old school. Do you think we should warm it up, or do you think I should use a color?
I'm wearing green.
So
What do you want to do?
let's...
I'm wearing orange shoes. Can't see the orange shoes.
Yeah, you can't really see the orange shoes.
Fall off.
I have some special colors, but you know, should we get weird and go blue?
Yeah, let's go blue.
Here.
Sorry, you can't really see.
Yeah, I'm off to the side. I'm just going to take one of these gels and tape it over the front of it. And we'll do it with the black and the silver. And we're just going to do it with the Magnum. Keep it simple. Let me grab a piece of gaff tape. A little gray. I think I have my big roll of black gaff tape hiding over there somewhere.
I don't see it.
Yeah. When you move around a lot of stuff, things generally tend to get buried. Cool. So because the gel is clear, it shouldn't change the characteristics of the light. Oh, I need to tape that back too. Gel's curling a little bit. It shouldn't change the characteristics of the light because it's clear. It just should color it. Where something like a diffusion filter is going to actually become its own light source because it's opaque. It's not totally clear. That's the point of it, is to kind of take your light and smooth it out a little bit. So let's go there. Let's see what happens there. Ready, Kate?
Great.
A little bit of light might leak around it, but we'll roll with it. Perfect. Nice. Oh, we gotta move my laptop out of the way. Thanks for the question on the gels. Didn't think about that earlier. Whoo! Cables. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. So it's the blue on the white reflector. Looks like nighttime. And now silver magnum. Whew. Don't look into the light. I just did. Perfect. The one thing that a gel will do is it will decrease the efficiency of your light. So the light will, the output will increase. Let's see. Get a little bit more gaff tape. Just try to keep that. Oh, I was at the end of that roll. That's why that was being all funky. Good thing I had one last piece. All right, cool. Cool. We're there. Let's make sure the
hot. This is our gel with the
silver
interior.
Yeah. I actually did it backwards because the white one was on there. Everything else is silver white. This one's white silver. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Lovely. So now let's see the differences. You're good, Kate. Thank you. That's actually, with the blue gel, is actually really, really pretty. Cool. So let's go back up here and snag these images from. So coverage wise, I mean, granted, I'd probably changed the positioning of the light a little bit. Let's look at these. I probably changed the positioning of the light a little bit, but this is the white Magnum reflector with no gel. This is the white Magnum reflector with a gel. The only thing that I can say is it looks like we're vignetting here a little bit more, but that could just be a color perception, and it may be the colors exacerbated. Oh yeah, oh no, I was wrong way. Other way. There we go. We're back in it. There we go. I'll do this. I'll turn this way because we have some stuff. Perfect. So, I think the color is kind of just exacerbating some of that a little bit, but light-wise, like if we go and zoom in and look at shadows and stuff like that, pretty similar. Relatively same kind of sparkle on the skin. Really, really nice. Like the blue. The blue's fun. And now, if we go to the silver version, they're pretty similar. If there's differences, they're tiny. The actual gradient and the fall off here at the edges are pretty dang similar. The shadows are pretty similar. The gel, like I suspected, wouldn't change it very much just because, again, the gel is clear, so you're still seeing the effects of the light. The photons are just being colored once they pass through that gel. So, cool.
I think that's all of our questions we have for today.
Awesome. Yeah. So thanks for hanging out with us again. Again, we wanted to re-record this to make sure you guys had some clear audio information about the white reflectors. If you have any other questions about anything, feel free to reach out to me. It's easiest to get me on Instagram. You can hit me up on Facebook too, but you can hit me up on Instagram. I think Kate's probably going to throw up my handle right there at @thechrisfane. DM me, and if it feels like it's taking me a second, like DM me again, like just send another one. So it gives me a fresh one. Sometimes I get behind answering things, but I'm absolutely here. If you have any questions, if you want to talk about some stuff, I love talking about lighting. So please hit me up. If you want to speak with someone else at Profoto, if you want to, feel free to reach out to Profoto directly through the channels. Feel free to reach out, through our email. I'd be more than happy to talk to anybody about anything. If you have any suggestions of anything you'd like to see on Geared Up, if you want to see, any type of lighting techniques, if you want to see anything, us putting anything head to head, or if you want to see us light anything in particular, also DM me, let me know, DM us, let us know. Tell us anything that we can do to help you be better at the thing that you're looking to get better at with the lighting. So in the meantime, I hope you have an awesome rest of your week. Thank you again for hanging out with us. See you next time. Peace out, everybody.